Every day, traders make decisions based on red and green candles. But what if those candles are only showing you half the story? At every moment, three prices exist: bid, ask, and last traded. Only aggressive intent moves markets. Patient orders don't. Buyers, initiative sellers, and commitment of trade reveal who's driving every move: institutions, algorithms, and informed traders. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Experience order flow intelligence at charts.vtrender.com.
Retail traders see the market through simplified lenses, basic price movements, and volume totals.
Institutions monitor every bid, every ask, every aggressive order, tracking market intent in real time.
While retail celebrates a green candle, institutions see the initiative selling that's about to reverse it. Order flow analysis gives retail traders institutional-grade market intelligence.
You wouldn't face Jasprit Bumrah with a plastic bat. Yet thousands of traders enter India's derivatives market with zero.
Traders lose, not because they aren't smart, but because they chase candles and ignore what institutions are actually doing.
The video e-course reveals how markets actually move through order flow and market profile. See the forces behind price, not just price itself.
Stop reacting to candles. Start reading institutional intent. Join the e-course now. 4,909 for lifetime access.
Every day, traders make decisions based on red and green candles. But what if those candles are only showing you half the story?
At every moment, three prices exist: bid, ask, and last traded. Only aggressive intent moves markets. Patient orders don't. Initiative buyers, initiative sellers, and commitment of trade reveal who's driving every move: institutions, algorithms, and informed traders. Stop guessing. Start knowing. Experience order flow intelligence at charts.vtrender.com.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. A quick sound check. Am I audible? Great. Welcome to this Monday 5 p.m. session. And although we will, as always, do the weekly review of last week and then see what has happened today, this session is very important because we'll be looking at option positioning and how we can read it live. What you can expect from this session today is how you can do a live read of the trader's positioning. And you will also see, we'll take today's example and we'll see how we can see from the tools which we have when and how the big players are shifting positions. So let's start with the weekly report. And we'll start with the Nifty weekly. And you can see how last week in Nifty, we had formed a triple distribution profile to the upside. And the brief which we had in the week prior, when we closed the week on 12th of September, we had mentioned that it's a neutral extreme profile to the upside with mostly higher value. And we had a failed auction at lows. So we had a buy side reference at 24870, which was our support for the week. And then we had singles till 24918 and an extension handle at 25026. This extension handle was our main reference when we started the week of 15th of September. So we had to look at this as our reference, and with this holding, we were looking at upside targets, the swing high of 25153 and the 180R objective was 25226. Apart from this, we were looking for a test of this extension handle from the month of July 25331. And then we had a weekly VPOC also from there, which was at 25452. So this was our reference for the last week. And what did we do? You can see how we started this Monday with a narrow range normal profile, which opened around the highs of previous week, but we were not able to take it out. And where was this highs? This highs was right at this reference of 25140, which was the VWAP from the series of July. So that was stalling the move. So when we got an initiative selling tail, we were seeing that the supply was still holding this. But what it did, it made a attempt to probe lower, but it was not successful. We held that extension handle of 25026 and we left a small tail. So this was telling us that the seller was not able to do much in this zone. Hence, what we saw on Tuesday was a big initiative buying tail, which took off this reference of 25140, and that swing high which we were speaking about, 25153 from August, that was taken out in the initial balance itself, and we went on to make range extensions on the upside. So you know which of the supply or demand is in dominant position with the way the range extensions happen. This was a failed extension on the downside, so that this was a failure by the sellers, and this was a successful extension by the buyers. So you know that the buyers are holding it. As long as this initiative tail was held, we were looking at the objectives which we had for the week. So we hit that 25226 180R objective on Tuesday itself. Then this imbalance continued where we tagged that extension handle of 25331. And what did we do there? We made similar highs there, but still we were holding the gap. So the PLR remained to the upside. And on Thursday, we saw a gap up open, and this gap up open came right at that weekly VPOC 25452. The high which we made on Thursday at open was 25448, and as that was a very important reference and that was the final objective in our weekly report, we needed some confirmation that the buyer want to take it out, but we did not get any. We got a very small AP rate tail there, and we made a balanced profile. So this was telling us that the longs which had caused this up move were booking profits at an important level. And this was further confirmed by this initiative sellers coming in on the next day. Just like the seller failed here, the buyer took advantage. They saw that the buyer was not able to take off this POC and the seller took advantage. They got this initiative selling tail and we got a retracement down to this 25286. So this is what happened last week. So on the weekly time frame, what we did was we formed a triple distribution profile. And this triple distribution profile had two extension handles. One was at 25140 and the second one was at 25254. So these two would be our references on the downside. Whereas on the upside, Nifty will need to sustain above the prominent POC of 25133. This was our reference to be bullish. You can see how the hypo also for today was exactly at 25333. So we were bullish only about this weekly POC, and below this we were looking for a test of this 25254 and 25140. So this is what the weekly review in spot for Nifty was. Just a second, guys. So coming back to the Bank Nifty spot chart, what we have done last week. In Bank Nifty, we have formed a neutral extreme profile to the upside, which we had done in the Nifty spot in the prior week. So what did we play out? Before we look at what happened last week, let us see what the brief was. It was a normal variation one to the upside with mostly higher value. and a close around the highs. This was a very important cue. So we were expecting the upside to continue. We were expecting a test of this extension handle 55048, and then above that we were expecting this higher extension handle of 55577 and this weekly VPOC of 55780 from 18th to 20th August. So what did we do in the week which went by? So you can see, just like in Nifty, even Bank Nifty started the week with a very narrow range normal day. So although we took off these highs, we were not able to take off that extension handle of 55048. We formed a narrow range day where the upside also was not, the buyers also were not able to make a meaningful extension higher. And on the downside, we saw a small marginal low being hit in the ITPO to 54807 was that low. But again, there was no follow through. So this was a neutral day, and this would have been a failed auction had we closed above this IBH. But we could not close above the IBH. So in fact, we closed below the value. So what we did on Tuesday was we made a look down below these lows, and we made new lows for the week at 54777, and that got rejected. There was no supply, so the buyers immediately took control. And just like how we saw in Nifty, we got an initiative buying tail. And this first on Tuesday, we formed this P-shaped profile. This was indicating short covering, but then this was followed by another initiative buying tail on Wednesday. So what we did on Tuesday was we hit the important monthly references of 55131 and 55171. This is the POC in the VWAP of the month of August, and we have them marked in the monthly report, and we have spoken about it when we started the month of September. So that is where we stalled, and from there we again got a move higher. So we took out this with an initiative buying tail, we took out these two with another initiative buying tail. So we knew that the upside objective which we were expecting 55577, that got hit, and then above that we were looking at this weekly VPOC. So this came in the gap up open on Thursday. But what did we do? We could not make a range extension higher after we opened gap up with a gap up. So this is where it shows us when you're getting similar TPOs at an important reference. This was also coinciding with the value area high of August. When we did the monthly review, we spoke about how in August we were forming a nice balanced profile in Bank Nifty before the last 2-3 sessions of August gave a move away from that balance. So that is what we did last week. We got into the monthly value area low, which was right at that extension handle of 55048, and we went on to hit the value area high of August, which was at 55805. So we did the 80% rule in the monthly value, and on the weekly we were stalling right at this final objective which we had in the report. So when we were not getting the range extensions higher, we now knew that longs are booking profits here. The POC shifted to the top, and then this was followed by a small initiative selling tail and a V-shaped profile. So in Bank Nifty, the weekly profile was a neutral extreme to the upside. We have a failed auction at the lows 54777, and we have couple of extension handles. The first one is at 55018, and the second one is at 55185. So these two are the supports on the downside, and the reference for this week was this POC of 55414. So we needed to hold above this and take off these poor highs for a test of this 56187. And these were the hypos for today. So let's now quickly have a look at what we have done today in spot compared to the weekly, and then we will move on to the futures before we come to the gamma exposure and the gamma density charts to figure out how the settlement is placed for tomorrow and what it showed us today. So this is the Nifty spot chart, and you can see what happened at the open in Nifty. If I just take you to the open, what we did was we opened lower, but we got rejected. We did not sustain. We immediately got back into the this value. So what this POC was our reference. We had already mentioned in the report how we'll be bullish only above the POC. Below the POC, we'll look for more downside. But this open rejection reverse gave us the uh, hint that the buyers have come back at this gap down open and they would want to take it higher. But this had to be taken out, which was not taken out. So the highs we made today was exactly at that extension handle which we were talking about, 25331. So you can see how it is continuously, because it's a monthly reference, it is not to be considered on a intraday time frame or a 5-minute or a 30-minute time frame. You need to see what we are doing on a closing basis on that level. So today we stalled there and we could not extend. After which we were forming a narrow range P-shape kind of a profile. But the fact that the buyers were not able to extend higher then forced their liquidation break into the second half. Right from the JTPO where we made lower lows, we got into this tail. The K in fact went on to break below this and we tagged a daily VPOC of 25170. So what we have done today is we have found a normal variation profile to the downside and we have got rejected from the weekly POC. So 25170 would be our reference because we tested that and we have left a tail. So we will need to stay below the 25170 for more downside here, which will be, we stopped just right at this extension handle. The lows of today was at 25151. You can see how the report which already mentioned that extension handle is holding, and even this extension handle was the level which was holding after the open, and once this was broken you saw new lows coming in. So this is a live example of how the references which we had marked before the market open have given us important cues and directions during today's live market. So 25170 would be our reference. If we stay below this, we can get a test of this, and if we break below this, then we are looking at this lower extension handle of 25026. So this is as far as the Nifty spot is concerned. Let us now move on to the Bank Nifty spot. And see what Bank Nifty has done today. In fact, so we have the Bank Nifty spot chart with today's auction, and same thing in Bank Nifty, what we saw at the open. The lower open, it was not in fact too much. Bank Nifty was almost inside the previous range, but it got rejected and it gave us an open rejection reverse chart. But then we had the typical seaside extension, which Bank Nifty is famous for, and the seaside extension not only stalled the upside, it went on to confirm a failed auction at the top. So this, the highs of today, which was at 55666, is a failed auction, and we have already hit the 180R target from there, which was at 55270. So 55270 was the 180R target which we have hit, and you can see how we have stalled right at this extension handle of 55185. Today's low in Bank Nifty spot is 55215. So we will have to see how, if we are sustaining below it or above, and then if we break this, we are looking for a test of this 55018 and then this HVN of 54900. On the upside, you can see how we have the scene of crime here. That will be the reference, and definitely this failed auction will continue to remain an important swing reference for the week forward, going forward. So let us now move on to the Nifty futures chart. We have the profile chart on the left and the order flow to the right. Let's have a look at the 30-minute order flow and what we did in the morning. And on the left side, we will see what was our reference. So we can see on the Nifty profile chart, how we got this failed move by the buyers. They made marginal new highs, but they were not able to sustain, and we went on to form a neutral extreme profile. So this 18th of September was telling us that the upside which was there in the September month was now getting some competition or some profit booking. So after this, what we did the next day, we remained below this VWAP and we got an initiative selling tail. So this was giving us double confirmation that the up move which was there, we were forming higher value all these sessions last week. But after this failed extension on on Thursday, it was backed by this initiative selling. So it was very clear that now the sellers are coming back into the auction. And what we did today, we opened lower, but the lower open held this VWAP. This is a very important reference. 16th of September, we had a nice good upside day where we left an initiative buying tail, we left an extension handle, and we closed around the highs. So the VWAP of that day was at 25276, and that was held in the morning. And you can see how we did not get any much of supply at the lows. So this was again an open rejection reverse up, but then open rejection reverse will have to take off the previous value and test the sell side references. But what did we do? We stalled right at this VWAP. So we have spoken about how VWAP becomes an important reference if you have a buy side or a sell side profile. So this obviously was a sell side profile because we had an initiative buying tail and a long liquidation break. So when this VWAP is not being able to be taken out, you know that the sellers are holding this zone. And although we saw some stuck sellers here in the E period, but it only paused the auction. In the spot, we saw how we got stalled right at the weekly POC of 25333. And here we got a better reference that we were stalling at the VWAP of Friday. So it was very clear that the buyers are not able to do much. So it was up to the sellers to test this VWAP and the POC, and which they went on to do later in the day today. Although this big red coming in at the lows got the POC to shift lower, and there was a pause resulting in this small pullback high in the HTPO. But then it was always in control of the sellers because we were below previous value and the VWAP had not given the gate pass. So in market profile, that is what we see. We see whether we are below previous value or above previous value. We are bullish above previous value. We are bearish below previous value. So once this rejection at VWAP happened, you can see how this G and H were stalling just at this value area low of Friday. So that was telling us that the PLR is now to the downside. And we went on to get some big sellers in the K. And K is known for that. KTPO is a period where all of us in the VLD also are extra alert because we can expect some good move. And today was today it did not disappoint us. Once it took off this 24335, 338 zone, you can see how we went on to make this low of 25249. But the POC shifted to the lows on the 30 minutes, which is telling us profit booking is coming in, and hence we got this small bounce into the close. So, but nonetheless, what we have done, we have moved away value wise, it is overlapping to lower, and we have closed around the lows below the initial balance high. And the close has been near this VWAP, which was an important sign, but it has already been broken. And this 25260, the VPOC is just been held. You can see we've got a small tail at the lows right at the 25260. So if this holds, we can expect a bounce, but this VWAP will be the reference on the upside. But we are looking for more downside if we break this and get into this buying tail of 16th of September. So this is what happened in the Nifty spot. Let us now move on to the two very important charts which we have, the latest tools which we have added in the VTrenders section. And let's start with the gamma exposure. So how do we read this and how do we know live when the big players are changing their positions? So what I have is a 2-window mode. On the left hand side, I have the gamma exposure from the at the open. So this is the 915 chart. And gamma exposure, we have already spoken about this. The green line is the buy exposure, the red line is the sell exposure, and this white is the neutral gamma. So the neutral gamma at the start of the day was at 25,300. And you can see how 25,300 was also short gamma, 25,400 was long gamma. So this is what the positioning was at the open. But as we build up, and you can see what it was around 60,000, the gamma, neutral gamma.